Hello and welcome to Baiju's Exam Prep IAS. The big news for today is the continuing floods in the Dima Hasao district of the state of Assam. In this video, we will be discussing about the impact of these floods in this particular strategic area for India. We'll also be discussing about the possible reasons for such a disaster and also what is the significance of this area in the overall policy that the Indian government follows in the northeast part of India. So without any further delay, let's begin our discussion. As we have discussed, the main news for this region is that a lot of infrastructure, especially the one that has been developed in the last decade or so, has been destroyed in the unfortunate floods that are continuously hitting the Dima Hasao region of Assam. It is one of the worst hit districts in the state of Assam in the first wave of the flood, which is a result of the pre monsoon showers in the region. Now, if you talk to the locals here and if you read about the news stories, a lot of people have been blaming the government for expanding and changing the railway plans in this area as being the major reason behind this flood and the water clogging. Now, why is that so? Do understand this. Dima Hasao in local language translates to Dimasa Hills, means it is a hilly area by nature. Now, this area has a Bareil mountain range which is between the Brahmaputra and the Barak rivers basin. This district is on the Dauki fault. Dauki is also the name of a very famous lake if you have been to northeast part of India, specifically Meghalaya. Dauki is known as the cleanest lake in the entire world. So if you are boating, you can see the entire surface of the lake in good weather. It is also on the border with Bangladesh. In fact, half of this lake is in Bangladesh territory while half of it is in India. So this particular district is on the Dauki fault and is between Bangladesh and some parts of the northeast. Now the railway connectivity to this area was actually done by the British. British engineers through their expertise had built 221-kilometer long railway line which had multiple bridges and 37 tunnels. And it took them multiple years because of the difficult terrain in this particular area. Now in 1996, the government of India started a project to convert the meter gauge track into a broad gauge track to increase the goods carrying capacity and to increase the passenger carrying capacity as well. However, the work was completed only by March 2015 again because of the constraints and because of the activities of the extremist group existing in that particular area. Now, in between that, the broad gauge track was also realigned to be much straighter. In between, in 2009, there was an audit report that said that this straightening of the track might not be good for the environment because we are now playing with the soil strata and the long term impact of this particular change will not be to our benefit. And that is what has happened as per the people. The Commissioner for Railway Safety in July 2015 observed that this track was unsafe for the passengers after there have been 9 derailments and sinking of track in 14 sections, especially whenever there have been rains in this particular area. That is why a lot of people have been blaming the development of railways in this area. But that is not the only cause. The roads also have been blamed by certain people. The roads in the district, especially the famous 4-lane Saurashtra Silchar East-West corridor, have also been realigned as compared to the old roads, and now they have been planned to go around the rivers, largely to increase the capacity of these particular roads. The locals say that these roads that have been built in the past 20 years are very, very bad quality. They often cave in whenever there is a landslide or whenever there are floods. Also, this area sees a lot of jhum, that is, the shifting cultivation on the hill slopes and unregulated mining. This also has added to the problem, and the result of which we are seeing right now in the district of Dima Hasao. All these activities together, the railways, the roads, the illegal mining activities, the shifting cultivation, all of that have played some role or the other in the disaster that we are seeing right now. Now, having said that, you have to understand the fact that it is a necessity to have rail and road link in that particular area. Dima Hasao is a geographical link to a vast region of northeast part of India, including the Barak Valley, some parts of Manipur, Mizoram, and even Tripura. Now, the good part here is that we do have an alternative. Despite all the destruction that has happened in Dima Hasao, we have an alternative linkage through Meghalaya, which links the country beyond, and thus it would not be impacted by the 4-lane highway that has been destroyed by these floods. However, the main cause of concern right now is the Lumding-Badarpur railway line, which has been the lifeline of this region since the goods trains have began operating in 2015. This track also is a very vital part of India's Look East policy because the Indian government had been planning that shipping of goods from Bangladesh to the northeast part of India would be possible if this railway line is extended even further. We were hoping that from Bangladesh's Chittagong port to Tripura's border points, the last railway station that exists on this line would give the connectivity that we require for the northeast part of India. And whenever possible and whenever required, we would be able to supply essential commodities from Bangladesh to the northeast part of our country. Those plans would now have to be recalibrated once again. This Dima Hasao line also links the 111-kilometer long Jiribam Imphal railway project in Manipur, which is being built on a similar kind of a terrain. Because of the condition and the problems that you are facing in the Dima Hasao region, questions have also been asked on the future project on this railway line in Manipur. Understanding the significance of this event, the central government had also sent a team to the region on 27th of May to assess what exactly have been the losses in terms of infrastructure and what has to be done again to rebuild this area, including the infrastructure related to railways and the roads in that area. Now, as I said, Dima Hasao in local language translates to the Dimasa Hills. Dimasas are the people who actually live in this area, who are the indigenous settlers of this area. And they have a very elaborate and rich history. Dimasas, in fact, are the earliest known rulers and settlers of Assam. Even much before the famous Ahom rulers, it was the Dimasa kings that had controlled the region of Assam. Most of these people now live in Dima Hasao, Karbi Anglong, Kachar, Nagaon districts of central and southern Assam. They also live in certain parts of Nagaland. As I said, it was before the Ahom rulers that the Dimasa kings were the rulers of this particular area. They are considered to be the descendants of the rulers of the Kamrup kingdom that ruled the large parts of Assam along the south bank of the Brahmaputra river. Their earliest known capital was Dimapur. As you can see, the similarity in the name, the Dimasas and the Dimapur, which is now in Nagaland. In fact, there's a very interesting story about Dimapur ending up in Nagaland as well. When the state of Nagaland was being created, the entire area of Nagaland was a hilly terrain. Because the government of India wanted good connectivity with Nagaland and they wanted an area where they could at least set up certain infrastructure, be it a small airport, that is why they wanted a plain area to be made a part of Nagaland. And that is how Dimapur actually became a part and the capital of Nagaland. Because the people living in Dimapur do not have cultural connections with Nagaland. They in fact are much more connected to the people living in Assam. And they had always been a part of Assam and that is what they wanted for the future as well. But because Nagaland had to be given at least one plain area, Dimapur ended up becoming a part of Nagaland and in fact the capital of the state of Nagaland. Now this region unfortunately has been in the news for other reasons as well. For example, last year there was a militant attack in the Dima Hasao region which left 5 truckers dead after militants attacked these trucks. As per the reports, there were 7 trucks in total that were carrying coal from a local factory and they were attacked by these militants. Now these militants were said to be of a new organization called the Dimasa National Liberation Army that had been demanding a separate state to be carved out for their people from Assam. A few weeks after the attack, a lot of militants from this group, the DNLA, actually came out in the open and surrendered to the authorities. Thankfully, we have not had this kind of an attack at least in the last year or so, and hopefully the situation will remain peaceful in the coming days as well. This is all that you needed to know about the Dima Hasao region and the floods that are hampering this region as of now. Let's pray that the situation becomes much better in this area in the coming days. This is it for the big news today. Thank you so much for watching.